The ability to amend the Constitution is one of its greatest strengths. It allows the Constitution to grow and adapt to different times and changing ideas. The amendment process is an example of shared powers that we talked about before. Amendments can be proposed by either Congress or the states, but for a proposed amendment to become part of the Constitution, it has to be approved by 3/4 of the states. The first 10 amendments are called the Bill of Rights. These amendments spell out the liberties and rights all Americans have. They were added almost immediately because many delegates to the convention in Philadelphia were very upset that they had not been included in the first place. It was only the promise that the first Congress would pass a Bill of Rights that allowed many people to accept the Constitution. So now let's take a look at the first 10 amendments and see what these important rights are. The First Amendment guarantees our personal liberties, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, a free press, the right to assemble, and the right to petition the government when we want. The next 7 amendments deal with other legal rights, the rights of states to have militias and arm their citizens, the rights of people accused of crimes, the right to be secure in your home, the right to a fair trial. The 9th Amendment says that there are more rights than those listed in the first 8 amendments, and that not listing them doesn't mean they don't exist. The right to privacy is one of those rights. The 10th Amendment says that any power not given to the federal government belongs to the states and to the people. Well, that's the Bill of Rights. As promised, it was drawn up by the very first Congress. Remember we said that the ability to amend the Constitution was one of its most remarkable features? Well, the 11th and 12th Amendments are perfect examples of that because they both corrected flaws in the original Constitution. The 11th Amendment made a correction to the court system, and the 12th changed the way the president is elected. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were adopted after the Civil War. They abolish slavery, extend the rights guaranteed in the Constitution to all Americans no matter what state they live in, and prohibit the right to vote from being denied because of race or color. The 16th Amendment gives the federal government the right to collect income taxes. When James Madison was working on the Constitution, he said,
"In framing a system which we wish to last for ages, we should not lose sight of the changes which the ages will produce."
In other words, the Constitution should be able to adapt to different times and different ways of thinking. And the 17th Amendment is a perfect example of what he meant. You see, originally, senators were selected by their state governments, not elected by the people. But that became an outdated idea. Now senators are elected directly by the people. The 18th Amendment was called Prohibition. It prohibited the sale, manufacture, and transport of liquor. After 12 years, the 18th Amendment was repealed by the 21st Amendment. The 19th Amendment gives women the right to vote in all state and federal elections. Before 1919, when the amendment went into effect, each state could decide for itself whether or not to allow women to vote. The 19th Amendment made it the law of the land. The 20th Amendment is another one that came about because of changing times. When the Constitution was written, travel was slow and difficult, so there was a long waiting period between the time the president was elected and the time he actually took office. The 20th Amendment shortened that waiting period. The 22nd Amendment also deals with the presidency. It limits the number of times a person can be elected president to 2 terms. Did you know that people living in Washington, D.C. couldn't vote in presidential elections until 1961? That's when the 23rd Amendment, which grants that right, went into effect. The 24th Amendment also deals with voting rights. It closes a loophole in the 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment said that no one could be denied the right to vote because of race. Well, many states got around that by charging people a tax to vote. It was really a way to deny the vote to African Americans because many of them were too poor to pay the tax. The 24th Amendment made the poll tax illegal. The 25th Amendment is another one that deals with presidential succession. The 26th Amendment sets the age for voting at 18. Before that, every state could set whatever age it wanted. In most states, the voting age was 21. Amendment 27 went into effect in 1992. It deals with pay raises for members of Congress.